Hey everybody, Grest here. So today we're going to have a little discussion on this SIG Spear LT in 5.56. So I've had this for about 6 months now. Got a good bit of rounds down range. Do I still love it? Let's find out. Alrighty folks, so I've had a good bit of time with this SIG Spear LT in 5.56. This is the 16-inch version that I picked up from Brownells back at the beginning of the year. I had waited for a number of months for these to come in stock over there so I could snag one. And after about 6 months, multiple range sessions, a decent amount of rounds through it, kind of wanted to do a bit of an update video on this guy. What I like, what I don't like, what would I improve, stuff like that. So just so you guys can see, there is no mag in the magazine well, and the chamber is clear and safe. So a couple things about the SIG Spear LT. So as far as the way I have this thing set up, I am using the SIG 1:6 Tango MSR optic. Pretty awesome optic actually. Out here on the end, I do have my rugged flash hider to run my rugged suppressors. I have a set of Magpul MBus 3 flip up sights. And other than that, it is a stock rifle. One of the things that you might also notice here, and I'll talk about this here in a bit, is this little guy here from Arisaka. So a little bit of controversy about something that's been happening with these SIG Spear LTs. So we'll get into that here in a few moments. So a couple of the things about the SIG Spear LT that I can report. I probably have somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 rounds, give or take, through this rifle so far. So not a ton of rounds, but good enough to give my opinion on it. I've used a variety of ammo through it. I've used 62 grain green tip stuff. I've used 55 grain M193. From various manufacturers. I'm happy to report this thing has been 100%, absolutely no failures of any kind. As far as magazines, I've used GI aluminum mags, Magpul mags, Duramags, and all of those work perfectly fine. I will say that the trigger on this thing is pretty dang nice for a factory trigger. So kind of look at this guy. It's a pretty nice factory trigger. Is it as good as a Geisley? No, but it is a it will do the job. It is quite a bit better than a mil-spec trigger, and you can see this guy is a little bit on the dirty side. It's due for a good cleaning, especially shooting suppressed. Now this guy does have, speaking of shooting suppressed, this guy does have a 2-position gas selector on here. It has basically more gas and less gas, and per SIG you're supposed to run this thing on the less gas setting for both suppressed as well as unsuppressed firing. The plus gas setting is for adverse conditions. Let's talk a little bit about some of the recent controversy on this firearm. If you look around the interwebs, all of a sudden, it was probably the end of May, I guess. It was another YouTuber that kind of put some videos out on this, and it had to do with the barrel flexing. And what you would see in the video is that people would flex the barrel and it would stay to one side. I did reach out to SIG on that, and they said, do not do that. Do not purposely flex your barrel like that. It's actually the handguard that is flexing. That's kind of brings me to this little device right here. So this is a add-on from Arisaka Defense. They're actually here in North Carolina. This guy is a band that helps to make the handguard more rigid. And I can attest to that as soon as I added that on. I did have the kind of flex issue here, but since I've added that, it is super rock solid. So if you're concerned about that flexing of the handguard, pick up one of these from Arasaka. Brownells also sells these as well, so you can pick it up from them. Overall balance of this rifle, as you can imagine, it is a little bit on the front heavy side. I mean, you have all the weight out here. I mean, most of the weight here, of course, is with the receiver, but you have a very lightweight, minimalistic stock here on the back. So because of that, and if you add a suppressor, it's going to be a little bit more front end heavy. But for the most part, it works pretty well. It's not overly front heavy, but it does have a little bit of front end balance issues there. So one of the other things that I did notice with this particular rifle, that it can be a little bit ammo sensitive. So for example, I just had it out again this past weekend, and I was shooting some Igman 55 grain, and I was putting it on paper, trying to see what kind of accuracy I could get out of it. And unfortunately, I didn't get any pictures of the target, but I was getting something in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 MOA. Really big groups for what this should get, and that was with Igman 55 grain. I mean, of course, it functioned fine, but again, the 62 grain X-Tac from PMC, that actually shot much better in this. So you know, your mileage may vary, but it just seems that maybe this barrel on this SIG Spear LT might be somewhat ammo sensitive. So I need to get myself some match ammo, maybe some of the AAC stuff, or maybe some Hornady or Federal Gold Medal match, or even some hand loads, and just kind of see what type of accuracy I can get. Honestly, as long as I can get between 1 and 2 MOA, that's really good for a fighting rifle, so I'm pretty happy with that. I don't expect it to be a match rifle, but I was a little shocked to see, you know, 3 MOA out of a you know, standard plinking ammo through this thing. I was expecting, I guess, a little bit more accuracy. So let me discuss a little bit about the optic as well. So since I've had a good bit of time behind this thing, I do like the optic. I think for the money, it is quite the value with this kind of mount that it comes with. You can get these in black or this coyote color. The eye box is very tight on these. That's probably my only complaint, but the glass is quite clear. The other thing I'll kind of come back to here real quick is on the flash hider. When you get one of these from Sig Sauer, it comes with their proprietary flash hider for their suppressors. If you want to run something other than that, you have to get their flash hider off, and you have to add, since their barrel has a taper, you have to add this collar. Sig originally came with these from the factory and stopped shipping them, so you have to order it separately. And the flash hider that these come with is a bear to get off. So I took a little bit of heat to it and all. I ended up soaking it in hot water for a while, and I was able to get it off. But just keep that in mind if you do get one of these, that the flash hider is going to be a little bit of a challenge to get removed. All right, so what are my thoughts overall on this thing? You know, I waited a long time to get this from Brownells. I was waiting a number of months. A couple of the variants that came in stock is not what I wanted. I did not want a 300 blackout. I wanted a 5.56 version. I also did not want the 7.62x39. Now, I will say that it's a different experience over a regular AR. It does have the piston system. It does have the folding stock back here. It also has full ambidextrous controls, which is really nice, including the safety, the bolt release, as well as the mag release. That is a very nice thing on here. Not super fond of the charging handle. I may swap that out at some point, but it does the job, you know. And then the flexing issues here that a lot of people were bringing out the pitchforks against SIG about, and rightfully so. When you spend this kind of money on something like this, you want it to not have issues like that. And supposedly this was also an issue with the handguard flex on the older MCX. So it's kind of not surprising to people that had been involved with the MCX over the different variants. And SIG is pretty much known for kind of beta testing their consumers, which is kind of sad, honestly, but you know, sometimes you're just not going to be able to figure all the little problems out until you get it in hands of the people that are going to use them. So would I change my purchase? No, I would not. This is definitely something different than a standard AR. It is shoots really good. Like I said, 100% function. It's a relatively soft shooter, even with the suppressor on there. So I haven't shot it a whole lot unsuppressed, mostly suppressed fire, and it's just worked 100%. So I have every confidence in this rifle, if I had to go to war with it, that it would work and work very well. No, probably not. Can you get an AR for half the price that will do the job that this can? Absolutely. But if you have a lot of ARs and you just kind of want something a little different, that's kind of the niche that this fills. You know, I would highly recommend these. I wish they would come down in price a little bit, but don't expect that to happen anytime soon. I even saw recently that they released a batch of just the upper assemblies for ARs, and those things, you might as well save the extra money and just buy a complete rifle at that point, because SIG is very proud of their stuff, and this here is no exception. They're extremely proud of these particular rifles. Anyways, that's my update video on this SIG Sauer Spear LT in 5.56. Like I said, other than a couple little things I've done here, pretty much going to leave it be. I may swap out the trigger for a Geisley at some point, but honestly, this factory trigger from SIG is really nice. No real complaints there. And then the other kind of thing I'm not super crazy about is the charging handle, so I may swap that out. But other than that, I'm going to run this thing as you see here. It's been an awesome rifle so far, and I'm going to keep running it. As I have updates or changes, I will definitely let y'all know. But for now, that's the latest after a good bit of rounds through it downrange. Yeah, just let me know if any of you guys have one of these, what your thoughts are so far. So I appreciate everybody watching today's video on this SIG Spear LT in 5.56 that I picked up from Brownells about 6 months ago. If you're looking for something like this or other firearms or parts, accessories, definitely check them out. Use code BOP10, save yourself 10% off of $150 minimum purchase on most items. Any questions or comments, please put those down below. And as always, I appreciate everybody watching and subscribing, and I will catch y'all on the next video. Y'all take it easy.